Hey Copper Nerds, let's do a deep dive into the 1794 Sheldon 17A large scent. So this will be the first video in what I think I'm just going to call the deep dive series, and it's only going to be about 1794 large scents. There's 58 varieties of 1794 large scent. I don't have them all yet. I'm at 44. But, the first one on the list is the Sheldon 17A. This is the first variety of 1794 large scent. It is a head of 1793. You might call it an exact head of 1793. This will have the same depiction of Liberty and same lower hair curl as on the 1793 Liberty Cap large scents, of which I have 0 because they are so incredibly expensive. I'm just going to go through a handful of resources and talk a little bit about the variety and the dye states and anything that is notable about the varieties, and then we'll take a closer look at the example that I have in hand. And I'm just going to be sprinkling these through on the channel and between other content, because I know you guys don't all want to sit there looking at nothing but 1794 large scents all the time, even though that's kind of what I like to look at. But let's just start off with the Powers Attribution Guide and see what it tells us. It is it's obverse 1 for 1794. Head style and lower curl are the same as the 1793 Liberty Cap design. And I'll just show you I'll show you all the 1793 Liberty Caps actually. Why not? Was 13 first or was 12? 12. So there's a Sheldon 12. Hopefully you can see that fairly well. That lower lock is kind of hard to see on that example. All of these are kind of difficult to find in high grade, so even our reference photos are not super high grade. You can see that lower curl nicely there, as well as that thumbprint in the field right under Liberty's chin. Doesn't that drive you crazy? 14s are awesome. The obverse dye broke during heat treat, is my understanding. So every single example has that big bisecting crack, and such a beautiful variety. If I do end up getting a 93 Liberty Cap someday, I want it to be a Sheldon 14. Here is a 15. You can see that lower hair there quite nicely as well. And looks like the same obverse dye it is, so they just reused the same photo. But here we are. As far as the reverse goes, the reverse. Each letter of scent is lower at the base than the previous letter. Oh yeah, kind of goes down like that. I don't know why they don't talk about the date here. It's a straight date and the 4 drops off. It's kind of a fall, the Sheldon 63 is the fallen 4 variety. And I'll have one of those coming pretty soon. I got a really nice one coming. But the 1794 S-17 has a fallen 4 look to it also. So look for that. Head of 93 with kind of a fallen 4. The 18 and 19 are the same obverse, and that has a kind of a curved date. And then the 20 has a straight date as well, but sort of the 9 and the 4 taper down. Whereas on the 17, it is really wide and straight until the 4. Okay, this one's the A variety. So on your heads of 93, you're gonna have A and B varieties. The A variety indicates that it's got the edge of 93, where the leaf curves down. And then on the Bs, the leaf curves up. And somewhere in here, they're gonna give us, here we go. So what we're looking at here is a B design. Let me make sure that's correct. Yeah, and if it were flipped upside down, it would be an A. I will show you a photo of the leaf on the edge of that one. This coin's an R5 minus. This guide's a little bit outdated, so I will probably, if that's not correct, I'll at least do a photo insert that shows the 1794 large sense registry rarity designation. That is the website for anything 1794 large sense is 1794largesense.com. There's a comprehensive registry, and on the rare varieties like the R5s and 6s, every single one known is listed with provenance. On the more commons, they're not. But as more are discovered and more turn up, they do adjust the rarity designation there to make sure that it's current and accurate. Of note is that there is a rarity 8, which I think means there's only 2 or 3 known. Yeah, I think it's like 2 known. On the extremely rare 17B, it's got the edge of 94 with the leaf turned up. So on the 17, 18, 19, and 20, well, 20 is a weird one. We'll talk about it more when we get there, but the 20A doesn't really exist. I'm sorry, there it is. The 20A is actually like a one-off kind of error. It's got both a leaf pointing up and a leaf pointing down. There's only one that is known, being that R8 plus designation. So technically there's a 20A and B, but there's really not a 20A. There's an NC that is a unique one-off that they call the 20A. It's really not an A though, because it's got both sets of leaves. It's just it's an edge error one-off. But on the other 3, you have your A's and your B's for your 2 different edges. Once we get to the Sheldon 21 and move forward, there's no longer an A or B designation. Okay, so that was our Powers reference book, which is a good handy reference. Let's take a look at the Noyes book really quick. This has also got some condition census info. Okay. Wide straight date, edge of 93, R5 minus. Standard edge lettering with a leaf pointing down. Obverses 1 and 3, so this and the Sheldon 20 are distinctive in that the dates are almost perfectly horizontal, flat dates. This one being very wide with a fallen 4. The 4 seems to tilt a little bit to the right on both. They are somewhat tough to tell apart at a glance until you looked at it closely. It's got a heavy pole, and Noyes calls for a few different die states. Perfect, which is never seen, a crack that goes from that denticle to the tip of the pole, and then a crack from the top of the hair under the eye going up. So up in here, I'll find a picture of that. And then the heavy bisecting crack. Here they are. So this has got the little crack right there, which is what mine is. Then that crack gets a little heavier, and we have some cracking apparently up in there, and then you get this big kind of bisecting crack right there. As far as what these look like, there is a 55 net 50 in position 1 in the condition census. By position 3, we're down to a 35 net 30. By position 6, we're down to a very fine 25 net fine 12. Mine should be in the condition census. It's not. It's sort of a new discovery. Dan Trollin discovered this from a dealer with no real provenance before that, and it was an unknown coin. I don't believe it is one of the missing photos, but I probably should try and dig into that a little bit. But the descriptions don't quite seem right. It's not scudsy. Mine's not scudsy for sure. It's been cleaned and retoned, but it's not scudsy. And it's in a fairly high grade. Let me look and see. I know I've got notes here about what it is in the registry. Yeah, it's a VG10. It's a 20 net 10. So it would be, mine's tied for like condition census number 7. It's really pretty high in the condition census. This is a pretty incredible example. What's funny is Dan had 3 of those at the time. He has got 2 from this page. I couldn't point to which ones he has, but he has 2 of the top 6. I think he might have that one. He has one of those 2. He has either the 2nd or 3rd, and then he has like the 5th or 6th. And then he had that one, which would be tied for 7th through 12th, really. These are all 10s. And I don't know if there's another page. There is another page. And I'm above these for sure. So this is a condition census Sheldon 17A. This is also the most expensive coin I have ever purchased. I'm not gonna tell you what I paid for it, but you could have bought a car. Not a nice car, an absolute, you know, hoopty of a car. Let's go to Breen's Encyclopedia next. Sheldon 44. Isn't this deep dive fun? All right, head of 93, it should be the very first one. There it is, Sheldon 17A. Being careful not to slap my book down on top of the coin. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? I'd edit that out and then be mad at myself. But Edge of 93, blundered N of cent. Huh, is that what they're calling that little bit there? Yes. Wide straight date, yep. Sheldon 17A and Breen 1A. Oh, Breen must have done his numbering by year. That makes sense. Wide straight date, distance from the bust. Double die. The device punch was misaligned. The doubling is plain at the ends of the locks of the shoulder loop. I'll have to get a look at my loop under a loop. Reverse. Yeah, we didn't really talk much about the reverse. Both ribbons come from a point entirely above the knot. Okay. Go through the die states a little bit. Low rarity 5. A big old list that I should look through on the provenance just to make sure mine wasn't being tracked and then fell off. Oh, they don't list all that many. Looks like it goes down again to VG10. Something I'm going to research a little more. I would like to think that there's got to be some record of this from before it ended up at that shop where Dan Trollin found it. But Breen's Encyclopedia doesn't add much more beyond what we already know. Oh, in fact, this is good, actually. The footnote. Dr. Salyards, who is the editor for Pennywise, in a note in the March 1994, I assume that was in Pennywise, stated the planchet quality of the 17A is best summarized by the description accompanying the Jack Robinson coin. The planchet appears to have been a mud ball rather than a copper stock, considering the striations, fissures, and laminations. 17As are known to have horrible, horrible planchet quality. And when you look at some of the close-up photos of my coin, you're going to see, get a pointer. You're going to see some planchet issues sort of in front of Liberty's face right there. That's where I see most of them. My lighting's all screwed up right now. And just sort of through the face and chin down there. And then there's a big one that's sort of straight above Liberty's nose. The other thing you'll see is that on the reverse of this coin, and Liberty is in such high relief that I don't flip this one over on a hard surface and set it down. Because I think the highest point of the coin is her face. This one's got some corrosion buildup. The reverse is kind of ugly on this one, which saved me, I don't know, thousands of dollars. And with this was a stretch for me. Dan was agreeable to letting me spend a few months saving up for that one. And then I ended up selling some gold actually just to get the deal done. But this is definitely the centerpiece of my Head of 93 segment. I've got this really nice Head of 93. I have that Sheldon 69 that I got from my uncle that is phenomenal. It's like condition census 5, I think, for my Head of 94. I'm sorry, my Head of 95. And then the Head of 94, I have that pretty sweet Sheldon 63 that I mentioned earlier coming. So you'll get to see that one. The last thing we're going to look at is Chuck Heck's Die States book, which you need to look at the index because they're not sequential. All right, S-17, page 27. Let's see what more this tells us. Some nice photos in this book. That one. Tilted 4 is what Morris called it. Maris? I don't know, someone tell me. It's got the A designation for the edge lettering. Die State 1, no clash marks, no cracks. Breen at Die State 1. And I think in noise it said none were known in Die State 1, but I don't know. So Die State 1 for Heck says that there is swelling between the cap and the Elm Liberty and a clash mark from the leaf. You can see the arrows pointing there. Let's see, leaf clash marks in the hair at number 2 are next to impossible to see. Yep. On the only known specimen in this Die State. Okay, so that ratty guy right there is the only example of Die State 1. There is no crack to the pole. So that's interesting. In Noyes, they said there was none known that didn't have the crack to the pole. Well, here it is. We know that there is or were some pristine examples struck. With the reverse, always has clash marks. Die State 2 has a bulge between the cap and the L. No, the bulge is not yet developed, I'm sorry. But it does have the crack to the pole. Die State 3 is where you get the bulge to the left of L there, it looks like. And no change to the reverse. Die State 4 has that bigger crack coming through, and then in Die State 5 it is a big, massive bisecting crack. Chuck notes that he has seen many specimens purported to have no obverse crack at the pole, but in most instances there's a lack of dentillation and so much wear that you really can't know for sure. And that might be the situation mine is in. There's really no dentillation on my example. I don't know if that's how it was. Well, I guess I can see a little bit in the light, but I mean, it would have been very light dentillation that must have gone away quickly with wear, but I suspect that it wasn't really those dentals weren't very well struck. Okay, I'm gonna sprinkle some pictures throughout of both my coin and maybe a couple of other cool ones. And this will be the first deep dive into a 1794 variety. I'm gonna go through all of them or most all of them over time. And someday when I have them all, we should have them all complete. I've still got another 14 to track down, but I've got 44, so I'm well on my way and I got plenty to show you. Thanks for checking this one out. I will look forward to talking to you a little bit in the comments, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.